So here's our Kentucky Derby 150 top 10, and this is for February 4th. And we'd like to update this after we have a series of Derby preps, and obviously that's going to give us the best impression of where we are heading towards the run for the Roses. So let's take a look. Number 10 is Honor Marie. This is a new entrant to our top 10, and I should note that I am eliminating any Bob Baffert trainee from our top 10 because they're not going to run, so there's no point putting him in. Obviously, Nisos and Muth would be on the list, but since they're not going to run, we're going to exclude them. And incidentally, that also goes for any maidens who have popped recently who look pretty good, like Hall of Fame or Knightsbridge or any of those others. I want to see them do it in a stakes race before I put them in the top 10. Honor Marie is trained by Whit Beckman, and you see the pedigree there, Honor Code and Dame Marie by a Smart Strike mare. So that definitely checks the boxes for a two-turn pedigree. The Kentucky Jockey Club, the field quality is a little on the dubious side, particularly since Risk It came back and didn't do much in the Southwest Stakes. But this one did display a nice closing kick, and with progression, could very well factor in the proceedings towards the Derby. So this one looks pretty good so far, but we do wonder about the quality of fields that he's beaten. Number 9 is Just Steel. Just Steel is trained by the venerable coach, D. Wayne Lucas, and as we know with Wayne, he does love to run his horses, and this one's got 9 starts. So clearly leading in in the amount of competitions he's had. This is a horse that seems to be getting progressively better, but the big issue is, of course, the top end. After the Southwest Stakes, he looked like he had that race run, and he just couldn't hold off Mystic Dan. He is getting progressively better. He was a little rank in the Southwest Stakes, but he is rating, and he seems to be learning how to run, and I think that's a good sign. Obviously, the fact that he can't close the deal in his last couple is a little troubling, but I think this is a horse that's useful, and who knows? You know, if he grows or gets has a little bit of progression, he could become a prominent player. But right now, he's on the fringe, but I think he's done enough to get it in the top 10 for the time being. Number 8 is Mystic Dan. New shooter to the list. You can't deny him from consideration after that Southwest Stakes. That was a pretty powerful effort. You do have to note, though, he saved a lot of ground, and he did have the rail all to himself. So there was some convenience there. Moreover, the surface and the fact that the surface in the race was muddy, he may have just capitalized on that. But being by Golden Sense, I do wonder about this horse's ability as the distances get longer. But for now, that was a pretty impressive effort and certainly made a big leap forward considering what he had done in the Smarty Jones. So he's one we certainly have to keep an eye on. And if he can take another move forward wherever he runs next, then he would be a serious player. Number 7 is Track Phantom. Track Phantom moves up a spot because he hasn't done anything wrong. You know, this one just continues to move forward, winning on the front end in the Lecomte. And you do, you know, because Nash continues to disappoint, you do have to wonder a little bit about the quality he's facing. But, you know, you go back a couple of years, Epicenter was pretty much doing the same thing for Steve Asmussen at the fairgrounds, and he was a little discounted as well. It turned out to be a pretty darn good horse. Certainly has the pedigree to go 2 turns, and we'll have to see what happens when he faces a little stiffer competition in the Risen Star. But so far, Track Phantom hasn't done anything wrong, and he moves up on the list. Number 6 is Timberlake. Timberlake we haven't seen yet at 3 years old, but his 2-year-old campaign certainly puts him in the list. You know, he's by Into Mischief. He's looking at Lucky underneath, so we know 2 turns is going to be okay for him. He ran a pretty good Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It was a little disappointing. I thought he'd run a tad better than that. But as we know, Fierceness just sort of freaked that day, and nobody was going to touch him. I think this one has every right to move forward, being trained by Brad Cox. Again, he hasn't done anything wrong. We just haven't seen him run yet. So looking forward to see what he does when he does debut at 3. But Timberlake is certainly a player on the Derby Trail. Number 5 is Fierceness. Obviously, the Holy Bull was a huge disappointment, and you give him a bit of a pass for the fact that it was his debut at 3. And okay, maybe he needed a race, but the bottom line is that was an awfully slow time for that race. So you do have to wonder, particularly when the fractions were so slow to begin with, that it was a pretty questionable race. You would have liked to have thought, particularly with slow fractions, he could have done, Fierceness could have done a little better than he did. And we do have to wonder if maybe he just needs everything his own way in order to be competitive. I don't know. He did finish 3rd, so it wasn't like it was a complete washout. And certainly we know he's capable of better. But I always like to have to see grit in Derby contenders, and I don't know that he's got a whole lot of it. That's really the big question with Fierceness. We've heard a lot about handling adversity, and certainly you have to think about that, considering the Champagne Stakes where he broke poorly, wasn't able to rebound from it. Breeders' Cup Juvenile, everything went according to plan. Same thing with his maiden debut. And in this race, he had every opportunity to win it. At the top of the stretch, you thought he was going to do it, and he just didn't. So we do have to wonder a little bit about Fierceness. He's certainly a top contender based upon what he's done previously, but I wonder about horses who, when they look contenders in the eye, if they don't respond, and that's really the big question mark on Fierceness right now. Number 4 is Sierra Leone. You know, you look at the preps we've had so far for the 3-year-olds, and the Remsen just keeps looking better and better. Considering it was a contentious race, and the fact that Sierra Leone battled Dornoch all the way down the stretch in only his 2nd start. He's looking awful good right now, and I'm really high on this horse. You got to love the pedigree. Gunrunner on top, Malibu Moon on the bottom, and as we know with Gunrunners, he's only going to get better. So to me, Sierra Leone looks awful good right now. And, you know, he's got the right running style, too, that just is an added plus. And I think maybe he'll get a little closer, certainly as he progresses, knowing Chad Brown. So, to me, all systems go for Sierra Leone, looking awful good. Number 3 is Dornoch. You know, goes hand in hand with Sierra Leone. Probably the only thing that I might note about Dornoch is Danny Gargan, you know, is a really good trainer, but hasn't been on the graded stakes trail with a Derby contender before. But if that's the only knock we have, it's really not very much. Obviously, he's a good horseman. He knows what he's doing. He's got the right rider on him, Luis Saez, too. This horse looks like he needs a little getting into, being by Good Magic. And obviously, he's the full brother to Mage. We know Mage didn't run it too. So maybe the best is ahead for this one. It certainly looks that way. He did pretty darn well at 2 years old, and that Remsen was just phenomenal. And really the big thing was that he showed grit. Just really love to see that more than anything else. And it's very exciting to see what this horse is going to do when he runs next. Number 2 is the Wine Steward. Wine Steward showed me quite a bit of grit in the Breeders' Futurity. That was a really nice race, and I think he did a little better than perhaps I thought he might, because his speed numbers are still seem to be a little on the light side. However, being by Vino Rosso, I think it's to be expected that this one is going to get better as he gets older. Whether or not that is enough to put him in the as a serious player in the Derby mix remains to be seen. Mike Maker's a good trainer, and he'll know how to get this horse to stretch out and get the maximum of his ability. I don't have any doubt about that. We just have to wonder if he'll have enough because Vino Rosso, as we know, got better as he got older and was a much different horse towards the end of his 3-year-old campaign and onward than he was early on. So that's really the only question I have about the Wine Steward. But other than that, he's got grit. He's got everything that you'd want in a Derby contender. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him run next. And the number one contender on our Derby list is Locked. Locked to me is a really exciting prospect. That acceleration he showed at Saratoga was really breathtaking. And I'm not going to hold the juvenile against him too terribly much because he was running against a speed bias track at Santa Anita. Most horses do win on the front end, and they did that day. But he did close pretty well and got a good third. And I think it's only logical that he'll get better. He is by a gun runner after all, and again another Malibu Moon mare underneath. So 2 turns isn't going to be an issue for him. I really think the sky's the limit with Locked, and I really like him as a Derby prospect. That hasn't changed. And I can't wait. It's unfortunate that he's not going to run the Sam F. Davis, that he did get a fever. And we have to hope that that's not going to impede his progress too terribly much. But it is early in the season. It is early on the Derby trail. So I think he's got time to recover from that. And he's another one that I can't wait to see run next. So here's the updated list. And obviously Fierceness running a dud in the Holy Bull does inspire a lot of questions about where we're going to go with our Derby trail, and we still haven't had anybody yet who's firmly stamped their mark as the leading contender. So it's going to be a really exciting Derby trail. I'm looking forward to it. I know you are as well. Let me know what you think. These type of lists always do inspire differing opinions, and I'd love to hear from you and get some added perspective. So that's it from here. We'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.